Life has a proclivity to downtrod the most fierce of its inhabitants, as it lays waste to our convictions and bring unity to sunder. The walls to protect our families have been besieged, our melon warriors has been caused to bleed, protecting our true essence from all those who sought to plunder. Give ear, my valiant soldiers, fear not of life's impending doom, for calamity is no stranger to the face of determination. It has already ravaged the sand on the shores of a distant land, cradle and grave to all civilization. Find solace in heaven's rebuke, offer death, hell a farewell salute, defiantly embracing the honor to perish for self-actualization's pursuit. Stand firm amongst the bludgeoning, veer retreat as the cowardice view that it is. If the yoke of humanity still renders me a slave, then my life I will willfully give. Martyrdom is a fleeting thing. Our spiritual edifice is the root of our ancestral dream, carbon preeminence through the ascension of the kings.
My name is Dominique Boyd. I'm a professional graphic designer, also illustrator. I'm also actually the guy that did the cover for the book that this documentary is based on. I'm originally from Louisiana. I moved here about 20 years ago to Houston, and I've had quite a few adventures. I've met some really great people, and I look forward to seeing what's next.
Well, my name is Kenneth Grissom. I am 43 years old. I'm a photographer, nationally published photographer, I should say, an actor, and going to be an author.
My name is Andre King, a native of Cleveland, Ohio. I'm an American black man, entertainer, who's been extremely blessed. I have sang before thousands and had an amazing time with 5 or 10. Simple man, and I'm proud to be affiliated with these young men, these young black men who are trying to make change.
My name is Alpine, R.A. McAlpine. I'm an author. Some of my greatest accomplishments for me is being a father.
My name is Farrell Phelps. I'm a celebrity photographer, talk show host, author, the creator of the Skin I'm In project as well. And just super excited to be here and be a part of what's happening right now.
My name is Antonio Olivelle Vines. I am from originally North Carolina, but I grew up mostly in Texas. I'm a little animated sometimes, so you have to forgive me if in this interview I have a little much, so I'm gonna try and calm down.
You're a little animated? Just a little bit.
So I dance, act, write, direct, do fight choreography. Also, I never thought I would be writing, so I'm like, oh, with me.
I like motorcycles. I like a good cigar, a stiff scotch. I like a little golf. And I like family time. I like spending time with my young ones and some public speaking.
Well-rounded.
I like that old Renaissance, man. You know how it is. Love Jones is my favorite movie.
So talk to me about black men as it relates to being sexually assaulted, being raped, being molested as children, even in some cases as adults, and the difficulty that a black man would have sharing that.
As a person who has gone through this at the age of 11, you can't talk about it until you're ready to talk about it, which may take years. I didn't talk about it until this project came about.
I think it's something that needs to be addressed and talked about.
Are you comfortable talking about that?
I was never comfortable talking about it, if we're going to be totally honest with you.
When I was young, my mom had a babysitter, and the babysitter was, I guess, fond of little young boys. And so I had, occurrences where inappropriate things were taking place, inappropriate touching, inappropriate sucking.
So often we sweep it under the rug because of our masculinity. When we talk about the things that have transpired in our lives and things of that nature, and I have some firsthand experience. I probably never would have really talked about it. So I would say this motivated me to speak out and to say something.
We had that stigma of keep everything in the house, which unfortunately for us, that has kept us back.
Kids don't have an outlet to be able to really express sexual assault, whether it's male or female. For one, it's oftentimes made to believe like they won't believe me, my parents won't believe me, or I'm breaking up the family. So these are stigmas that we use to try to keep it covert, because I think that it's more male assault is more prevalent than we know.
The problem is, as a young black child, you trust. And when that trust is shredded, and you feel like, what did I do to cause this? Because it must be me. Then it is hard for you to reach out because you're afraid of what people are going to say. And people are going to feel just like you feel. What did you do?
Parents out there, if you notice something different about your kid, talk to them, because something may have happened and they may feel like they shouldn't tell you.
The thought process you have to just rape an individual or even just a child, or the heart that you have to do something like that, you should really just evaluate yourself and be like, man, how did my heart get here? Because nobody's just born that way. Nobody just like wakes up like, oh, I'm gonna rape this woman or I'm gonna rape this guy. That's something that has to develop.
I was watching The Breakfast Club, and I guess Charlemagne the God talked about his encounter at a young age and how it just fueled his desire for interaction. Where when Tyler Perry talked about his instance, it kind of like made him a recluse. It kind of like impacted him emotionally and mentally. And I think that my interaction was more on a Charlemagne the God perspective, where it cultivated a desire for interaction.
I was fortunate enough at one point to work with sex offenders between the ages of 11 and 17. It is hard to imagine an 11-year-old who was sexually assaulted, who assaulted his 3-month-old sister. Learned behavior. We got to learn a new behavior. We got to teach a new way. Kids don't listen to what you say. They look at what you do. We got to be better.
It's like a dog. You keep feeding a dog, it's gonna keep coming back. You keep feeding that thought, it's gonna come back. So it's like, what do? You find something else to take that spot of that.
I believe for me, it cultivated. I became regularly sexually active at the age of 12, and from that particular point on, I continued to feed my desire for intimacy out of the idea of just medicating. Like I said, when you step back and look back into it, from standing back, hindsight, it was just to medicate.
And do you feel like you've gotten some release or some understanding, or do you feel like it just opened old wounds for you?
Certainly opened wounds, if I'm going to be honest. But I also feel that it's been helpful to talk about, to get out, and that type of thing. And I think that's really the key, being able to communicate that to somebody as opposed to holding on to it for life, so to speak. Because actually what happens when you're a victim is that you live your life from a victimized perspective until you get the healing that you need to get, if that makes any sense.
Be the kind of parent, be the kind of friend, be the kind of pastor that that child is comfortable coming to you and laying their soul there.
And it affects your total life in ways that you don't even recognize until you're really faced with it and have that introspective moment to realize that.
And so although I was typically more advanced sexually at 12, but by the time you got to 15, there was an expectation in my community. You know what I'm saying? By the time you get to 18, it was definitely, taught. This is how you do it. You know what I'm saying? This is how you get them. This is how you, by 21, now you're in the cycle of the adult, making sexual decisions. So as the progression took place, or as the maturation took place, it kind of like masked the trauma. And you began to just go along with what is normal when sexuality becomes the dominant process of how you medicate through life. The decisions that you make typically do not have deep enough roots that cause it to last.
How did you work through it?
Initially, it was depression. Deep, deep depression that for me, I tried to hide as best I could until my mother one day said, what is going on? Something's, no, a mother being a mother. And I was like, oh, I'm fine, but mamas know something wrong with their babies, And so I had the discussion with both my parents. From that time, even as a young kid, they took me to a psychiatrist to talk and to talk about those things. And it's funny, I'm sitting here talking and sharing this with you, and I totally forgot about so much of it. But this brings back a lot of those moments and memories from that period of life.
I understand that dealing with that is hard, and obviously your story needs to be told to somebody because you're still standing here.
When you ask how do you work through it or get past it or whatever, as crazy as it might sound, oftentimes I feel like I'm still working through it.
How do you feel your relationship is with Black women?
I would have to say wonderful. I admire Black women. Black women are powerful, man.
Oh, I love Black women. I love them.
You married to a Black woman?
Yeah, I mean, yes, of course I am.
The backbone, the strength, the mother and the father oftentimes, the way makers. Black women are incredible, and they just have a fortitude about them that just takes over when it needs to take over.
I love Black women because, especially ones that know who they are, you can, just from the vibe or even just sitting with you, I can say like, dang, this is a strong Black woman. You might be someone else's Black woman, but you a strong Black woman. Like, dang, I need this. But it's like so many women don't realize it. They don't really see the power that they generate just from being in a room. Like even me, when you learn how to control your vibe and you step in a room and everybody just notice it, it's like you don't even have to say nothing.
I think Black women are some of the most amazing creatures that God has put on earth. In all
Are you
honesty.
in a relationship with a Black woman now?
I am in a relationship with a Black woman right now. A wonderful relationship, God-sent relationship. Incredible human being, compassionate, loving. I can't say enough good.
I really can't say much about being married to a Black woman, only in the sense that when I hear, not that I read, but I hear about books, I have friends, I certainly got at least two that are insane about, the Black woman and the Black woman this and all that. And I'm like, man, my wife must be part Asian because she really takes good care of me, right? She takes doggone good care of me. She's very loving, understanding, and passionate.
Each relationship is different. Like my current wife, Lisa McAlpine, she has brought out in me the creativity. Her fearless thought about my progression and her desire to see me reach my full potential has created the soil needed for me to grow.
I grew up, in the southern states, so I went to a mostly white school. It was mostly white girls. And unfortunately, the black women, black girls, they didn't gravitate toward me for whatever reason. But as I grew older, I started having experiences, and I understood that I need to get a sister, because there's plenty of educated sisters out there doing their thing.
When a black woman actually understands that power that she has, it is more beautiful than any physical feature she might have. When you got the energy that y'all can just connect, it's like unexplainable, and it's just something that's just powerful, like black magic.
The schism of, well, sisters are too harsh and they too this, and they almost got to be. They almost have to be, and then you find one, you find one, lasso one, they'll come on down to where you at and let you be who you are.
Systems create enmity between black males and females. I believe that you could go to any Fortune 500 company, Fortune 400, 300, 200, and 100, and look at the executive structure of those particular systems. You have white men, you have white women, you have black women, you have any other ethnicity, then you have black men. And what it's designed to do is, regardless if you believe that Willie Lynch really exists, the story still holds true. If you know how to separate the family, if you cause enmity between the male and the female will control the child. You know what I'm saying? So if you take the male out of the home, what you begin to do is you create the divide. And so now in our relationships, we have to overcome that divide in a social system that still exists. It still perpetuates the same thought process or the same belief system. Black men love black women. But what needs to happen is the understanding of how to move forward as a unit, as a duality, and not as competitors to each other.
If you just let go, I have a theory that if the man is focused only on the woman and the woman is only focused on the man, then you can have a great relationship because you don't get in the way. See, we get in the way of the relationship. Yeah, and with black men and women, they say black women are more vocal, boisterous, stubborn, all those things. I think that black women are more sensitive, more aware, and tired of being not seen.
You're going to find that some of them are hard to peel off because throughout history, black women have been pushed to the side and they've been the lowest of the totem pole. What you can do is you can find yourself a good sister and she'll hold you down. If you're over there getting your ass whipped, you would hope that she would come over there and fight for you.
My first marriage, I got married at 24. I would never recommend, no disrespect to the people who get married who are young, but I would never recommend, even to my older kids, which are 28, 27, I didn't recommend they get married early because there are a lot of things that you just don't know about yourself at 21, at 24. And having someone at that particular point that does not have the ability to maturate with you creates trauma to your kids.
Relationships are difficult. Okay, let's just face it. You've taken two people and they're having to find a way to coexist, commingle.
My younger kids have to deal with their parents divorcing and now having to potentially choose between one or the other. And that's not a choice that a kid should ever have to make.
I think one of the most important things for men in relationships is to take off the mask of masculinity and to truly be vulnerable with the person that you love. And you should always feel a safe place with the person that you love, to share things that have taken place in your life that you've never wanted to talk about. And the right woman will appreciate your vulnerability, if that makes any sense.
It is something that when I first got married, my wife used to say to me all the time, "You don't see me." Yeah, and that was important. It meant that although I was in tune with what she needed, what she wanted. I wasn't in tune with how she needed it and how she wanted it. I was myself. I'm gonna do this. I can do this for you. But can I do this for you the way you need it done? And see, that's the challenge of relationship to me. So what you have to do is learn to allow your mate to be who they are. Anytime you put two people together, there's gonna be a challenge. So, black people, stop getting in your feelings so much.
Talk about your father, your relationship with your father.
I ain't gonna lie and act like I have it all together, because I don't. Because sometimes it does bother me, because my father does know where I am and how to get in contact with me. He's making a subconscious decision not to. So really it's like, but at the same time, I remember like, I'm not the one missing out. He is. I just know that when I have my kids, I'm not missing out on nothing.
My father was an entrepreneur, and I watched him be that, an entrepreneur, and working for himself, and the flexibility that he had because of it, things like that. He always taught us that when you have a lemon, you turn it into lemonade, you know. And I've made a whole bunch of lemonade.
I grew up without my father in my life, and so to be a father to my kid meant a lot to me.
I didn't know my dad. I didn't know him at all. I seen him twice in my life. Once when I was 6 years old, and once when we buried his mama. My heart wouldn't allow me to hate him. But then I didn't know that one day I would be him either. He wasn't there for me. And the Lord gave me two families, and I found a way not to be there for both of them.
He played a pivotal role in a lot of who I am. And that has been a tremendous blessing. Creative man himself, incredible father, protector, there for his family. A lot of good can actually be said about my dad.
We are not designed to have sisters only being parents to our sons and our daughters. We have an intricate part. We have a duality, if you will, of responsibility to make sure that the part that mother can't bring, father brings.
I learned what I know as a man, you know, how to fix things, how to be a man from, unfortunately, other friends of mine and people that I've grown up with. And it's difficult, you know, and for myself and my brothers, we are shaped by that. You need a male in your life, especially being a male, especially navigating this crazy world for a black man.
I made a conscious decision within myself that regardless if I'm with the mother of my children or not, my kids are not going to be calling another man dad.
I don't consider myself a good black father because when I became a father, I didn't know what responsibility to something greater than me meant. I didn't know how to get out of myself.
Do I believe that that out of wedlock kids or black men with multiple women exist? Yeah, it did in my community where I grew up. The same way that most households in my community where I grew up were single female ran households. And so at the end of the day, the thought is, who do we need to be to change that narrative?
I was afraid to attempt to be a good father because I was afraid I would fail at it. Because I thought being a good father was what you provided. Being a good father is providing from there emotionally. Being there regardless of what the situation is. So I don't have anything for you for Christmas, but I'm here. I can't change that, but I'm here. Being a good father is showing up.
In order to have a relationship with somebody, you actually have to be there. I don't want to keep on like one of the people that's hanging on the edge of the cliff by their fingers, hoping that person will come and pull them up. So I had to make a conscious decision on myself, like either you can do this, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to, or I just don't want anything to do with you anymore.
I see more good young fathers. And I tell them, I say, whatever, don't let your baby mama, don't let your personal drama get in the way of you being there for your child. Because you wake up one day and you can't be that guiding light that they needed. You haven't been, it's too late.
A lot of people say, oh, I didn't have no dad to teach me. Well, in reality, you do got him to teach you. You just basically learn from his mistakes and don't. And basically everything that he did, just do the opposite. Like, he wasn't there. Be there for your kids. He didn't spend time with me. Spend time with your kids. You don't even call to check on him. Call and check on your kids, whether you're in a relationship with them or not.
One of the things that I made sure, because my father wasn't in my life, that I committed to always be in the lives of my kids. So from my oldest, which is 28, my son Reggie, to my youngest, which is Isaiah at 15, I have been instrumental in being in the lives and tailoring my life around being in the lives of my kids.
So now I can only love my children. And if they don't love me back, that's okay. I didn't earn that, see. And I hope this is the beginning, and I hope that the Lord give me enough time to just enjoy my children.
Talk to me about how difficult it is as a black man, as a creator, to be seen as creative, to be seen as innovative, to be seen as a leader in the space that you're in.
I don't think it's too much more difficult than any other African American male to move around in certain circles. I've been very blessed, though, that I was able to get into corporate America as young as I was without a degree. It was my talent of being able to illustrate and draw that actually got me in the door. And once I got in the door, I started learning the software, and here I am, actually graphic designer, multimedia for Harris County. Some of the difficulties I felt wasn't so much about being a black man as it was having a condition that caused you to have to work and think a lot more hard than the average person, not just retaining information, but actually disseminating and breaking it down and turning it into a graphic. I had to turn around and write stuff down a lot, otherwise I would forget, even if you just told me 13 minutes ago. And so it's a bit of a work, it takes a lot of effort, but overall, being black so far for me, as far as my career, hasn't been really an extreme challenge. Of course, I see the differences, but not like what some of my friends have been through, to be honest.
Being a black man in the creative industry, creative field, oftentimes we have to forge our own way. There's no formula necessarily. And when we don't see opportunities for ourselves in our lane, we have to create our own opportunities. We have to create our own projects. And that's what we have to do as black men. We don't always get the opportunities that other people get. We don't get the funding that other people oftentimes get to live our dream, so to speak. And that's a challenge for us as African American men. But when we have the fortitude and when we have a great support system, we can do those things. And we have to learn to do things where we are. Oftentimes we think, oh, I need this big budget. That's not always the case. Start where you are and build from there.
I see the black man creatively, and I think the world sees him creatively. To his acceptance, that's putting him where he belongs in the scheme of things. I don't see that so much. You know, we still are great, but not good as. And I find that to be, at this date and age, a little disturbing. We're still at that point where we have to be so much better than everybody else. Strive so much harder. Be more politically correct.
If you just look at American history, there are so many things that black men have contributed, as well as black women have contributed to our society right now, that society wouldn't function the way it is today without it. We do have creativity in music, we do have creativity in athletics, but our creativity goes beyond that. We have Robert Smiths in the world that, that take tech companies and make them successful, that have mentors that he sent out to businesses to improve them. We have so many different prolific male examples of proficiency, of intelligence. And even Robert Smith talks about oftentimes how even as a black man in that field, although he's a billionaire, you still have people who, because of his diaspora, because of his culture, because of his color, they won't use them even though that he can create a greater product than a lot of the ones that they choose to use.
It's going to take your first interaction with somebody that doesn't like you because of this. It's going to take your first interaction to say, okay, I'm different. And now I got to conduct myself in a different way. Unfortunately, that's just the life we live. It's not going to change.
It's always a struggle for us because we don't have, you know, and oftentimes you reach out to people in the community that you think would care enough about a project to support or give. That was so much discouragement along the way with creating this particular project, and this particular project is the Skin I'm In project. And it was given birth from an experience I had while interviewing the Princess of Stuttgart, Germany, a few years ago, when we had a very dark-complected gentleman that they made a negative remark about. And I was like, wow, you're talking about someone's melanin, something, you know, the skin that God gave somebody to walk the earth in.
Other cultures don't view us in high esteem. Matter of fact, oftentimes we are looked at as miscreants, as, you know, hood or savages or beasts, and we are categorized that way in movies. We're categorized that way lyrically in music, and these are the things that we need to begin to change that perception. They say that 1 in 3 men, black men, will see incarceration. So that means that if you have 9 men, what's the other 6 doing? And we spend more time talking about the 3 than the 6.
Yeah, I got friends that range from anything from being a DEA professionals all the way up to producers, videographers, and everything like that. And some of the stuff they tell me, it's like a lot of them have almost like, I hate this country, or I hate what they're doing out there. They always trying to set us up and do this. And I can't say that that's not true. You know, I'm from the South, I'm from Louisiana, from a very small town. We raise chickens, so you know what I dealt with when it came to dealing with white America, especially as a kid. I mean, when I was 12, I was coming home from the grocery store on my bike, and this big red truck, these like 3 or 4 young teenage white boys came and they swerved their truck like that, and just enough to where the wind of the truck blew me into the ditch with the water and the mud and stuff. But even coming up in that, I never felt like an incident or even several incidents should define what a race is, you know? So again, with that said, I hadn't experienced as an adult quite what they've experienced. But yeah, in my childhood, certainly.
As it relates to creativity, we have to keep on pushing the narrative, but I also believe that we're responsible for how they depict us.
We were in a group and we were in the process of creating a show, a series, and it was a really good series. It was dope. And then we brought him on. It was my business partner's idea. I was like, he's cool, but then he said a comment that really struck me. He said, does anybody know any non-colored girls, little girls? I'm like, when I started noticing that, I'm like, dang, how the flip our own people gonna be racist against us like that?
You may have to say no to some of these roles. You may have to allow a better balance in how we are portrayed on screen, how we are portrayed in the business world, how we are portrayed from a policing perspective, to begin to have society look at us in a different way.
The new generation is amazing, and their creativity is off the charts. And I think that mindset will develop into something really great.
What do you hope will happen as a result of people reading your story?
I hope in some ways that it sets some people free. I hope that people are inspired by the story, educated by the story, and can relate to the story. I think it opened up doors for us as African American men to truly be vulnerable with the world in a way that typically we're probably not. So I think it's a beautiful project in a lot of ways. However, to be totally honest, I did not want to do it. I'm like, no, this is going a little bit too deep in my world here, you know what I'm saying? But Darshell really pushed for me to do it, and had it not been for her, I probably wouldn't. If it been anybody else, I probably wouldn't have done it.
I would hope that it would help the black men that do read it, that have a similar condition, to basically say, man, quit being a punk, get out there and be whoever you are. Just let people know. Don't let your pride and masculinity get in the way of your reality. Get out there and let people know that it's people that you're going to work with every day, it's people you're going to be surrounded with every day. They need to have an idea of what's going on, because you may do something that they think is really, really crazy, and it's actually just a part of what you deal with.
What I want people to get from my part of the story really is that your story might not be like everybody else's story, but you have your own story.
It's going to teach people that it's okay to be different, and it's okay to be yourself, and it's okay to, to hurt. My parents were divorced at 11 when I was 11, and I had two other brothers, and my older brother took it harder, and my younger brother, of course, was younger. But, to say that you're not alone, and different things happen to different people that define your life, up until now, even now, as well as the other stories, take from them what you must as a black man and as a person, because of course we want everybody to read this book, but take from that book, from the stories, and gain some type of insight on yourself, and say, you know what, well, I'm glad he's been through that. Maybe I can talk to somebody. Maybe I can understand that, well, I'm no different from the rest of the person. That happened to that person, that happened to that guy. Look, I'm not an individual when it comes to that, and it just didn't happen to me.
I think that one of the largest takeaways that I would like for people to get is the importance of black fathers in the lives of their children. I think that we underscore, oftentimes socially, the importance that having that a healthy interaction helps us overcome some of the pitfalls that we may fall into if we didn't have that guidance in place.
I hope the book will show all facets of the black man as a father, the black man as a friend, the black man, you understand, and his challenges, but also his victories. And I'm hoping that it's read by more than just black people.
I'm Farrell Phelps.
I'm Dominique Boyd.
My name is Antonio L. Vines.
My name is Kenneth Grissom.
R.A. McAlpine.
My name is Andre King.
I am a black man.
I'm a black man.
I'm a black man.
And I'm a black man.
I am a black man.
Ascension of the Kings.
Ascension of the King.
Ascension of the Kings.
Ascension of the King.
Ascension of the Kings.
I'm a black man. Ascension of the Kings.